Well, welcome back to the homestead. In today's episode, I want to talk a little bit about insulation. So, on this house project, I really had two goals in mind that I wanted to achieve with the insulation. And the first one being, in case of a fire, I wanted to make the house as safe as possible to give me and my family enough time to get out of the house safely. The second goal being, I wanted to keep my utility bills as low as I possibly could for the life of the home. So, in order to achieve both of those goals, I used a combination of materials. And the two materials I used are rock wool and open cell foam. So the rock wool is a batt insulation that's made from volcanic rock and steel slag, and it's a fire retardant product. This has a melting point of over 2,000 degrees. So if you have a fire breakout, it's really not going to damage this insulation. So let's say we had a fire that broke out in this this switch box here. The fire is going to quickly consume the air that's already in the box, but it can't really draw more air in from this bay because this insulation's in here, and the fire is not going to consume the insulation. So there's a really good chance that the fire is going to smother itself out in that box, and that it'll be a minor fire and go out. If it does continue on, at least this product is non-flammable and it doesn't put off any toxic smoke if it's exposed to flame. So that's why we use that in all of the exterior walls and under the floor. Now, the second goal is keeping my utility bills as low as I possibly can. And to achieve that, I'm using a sealed or a conditioned attic, which means the air in the attic is within 10 degrees of the air inside the house. And therefore, all of my air handling equipment that's up in the attic is not exposed to the extreme heat like you would in a typical attic. So most attics in the middle of the summer around here, you go up in them and they're going to be 130 degrees or hotter, and all your air handling equipment is exposed to that heat. And it only has an R6 insulation around your ductwork. So that heat is able to penetrate into your ductwork. Your ductwork is hot, the air inside the ductwork is hot, and every time the air handler comes on, it has to kick that hot air out and cool the ductwork down, and it's a loss of energy. So with a conditioned attic, your ductwork is in an attic that's like 80 degrees, and you don't have that loss of energy as bad as you do in a traditional attic. But in order to achieve a conditioned attic, you have to do a really good job of air sealing the attic, and that's where spray foam came in. So spray foam, it doesn't care how complex of a bay you spray it in. When it hits the substrate, it's going to adhere to it and expand out and do a phenomenal job at air sealing. Where if you take a simple bay and you put rock wool in it, just a standard 16-inch bay, rock wool air seals that really well. But every time you put a complication in that, like a switch box or a drain pipe or a water line or a wire, it doesn't do as good a job air sealing it. So the more complex the bay is, the less rock wool is going to air seal. On the other hand, the more complex the bay is, open cell really doesn't care. It's going to air seal just the same, and it does a phenomenal job at that. The drawback to the foam is if it's exposed to an open flame, it's combustible. It'll burn out, and it puts out a really thick, heavy, black, toxic smoke. So that's why we used rock wool everywhere we could in the living areas, all the exterior walls. And then in the attic area, we're using the spray foam. So if we do have a fire that breaks out in the attic will fill up with the black smoke, and hopefully it'll leave us clean air down in the living area long enough for us to be able to safely get out of the house. But as far as utilities go, spray foam is the way to go to air seal the attic. So we used a combination of the two. Now, when I first started doing the insulation with the rock wool, a lot of people asked me, did I use it because it was cheaper than foam? And I didn't. I used it because of the fireproofing quality. And up in the attic, I used spray foam for the air sealing quality. So price was really not what drove me to choose my insulation. However, now that I've used both products, I have some numbers that I can give you as a comparison. So when I purchased my Rockwool, I purchased it online from Lowe's, but I actually had to go into the store to do the online purchase. When I did the purchase, I got a contractor discount because of the volume of Rockwool that I bought. So I got 20% off for contractor discount. The day I went in, they happened to be running a special where you sign up for their credit card, you get 10% off of your first purchase. So I signed up for one, and I got an additional 10% off of the Rockwool. So all told, I got 30% off of the list price on the Rockwool. And the R23, or the 5.5 inch thick Rockwool, came out to be a little bit cheaper than 5.5 inches of spray foam. So the spray foam, the contractor gave me a bid of $1.50 per square foot for R23, or 5.5 inches. And the Rockwool came out to be $1.05 per square foot for the same amount of insulation. So the Rockwool was 45 cents per square foot cheaper than spray foam. Now the R30, which is what I used in the attic, is 8 inches of spray foam, and that was $1.65 a square foot. And the R30 Rockwool that I used under the house came out to $1.39 per square foot. So it was about 26 cents cheaper per square foot. But there's a drawback to the Rockwool. You purchase the Rockwool, you have to install that yourself. If you go with spray foam, somebody's going to come out and do that for you. So there's trade-offs to both of them. They're both really good products, and they both have really good pros, and they both have some cons. So like I said, I tried to strike a balance and pick the best insulation for each application that I was using, and the balance that I came up with was Rockwool in the living areas, spray foam in the attic, and I think I'm getting the best of both worlds that way. So the next thing I want to do is show you a little bit of footage from when they came out and sprayed the foam in. And I'm going to apologize now that the footage is not as good as I would have liked it to have been, but I had to use my older camera for that, so it's a little bit darker. But you don't take a good camera into a house while they're doing spray foam, because that stuff gets on everything, and you can't really get it off very well. I mean, once it adheres to something, it's basically a glue, you know, and if you use solvent, then you're going to destroy your camera case and all. So at any rate, let me show you that footage and see what you think. right, so that pretty much catches you up on where I am with the house project. And before I go, I just wanted to give a quick shout out to the company that did the foam for me. It's Foster's Foam Insulation. And they're located in Central Arkansas, and they traveled about an hour and a half to get up to me to do this job. So if you're anywhere in the Central Arkansas area and you're looking to have some spray foam done, consider giving them a call. And I think they'll do a real good job for you, and the prices pretty much hard to beat. They were about 50 cents per square foot cheaper than any other competitor that I talked to. So they've got good prices, they do good work, and they originally estimated this was going to be a 2-day job, but they came out here and they busted their tails working on it. They got it done in a day, and they wound up staying a little bit late so they could go ahead and finish it up in 1 day and not have to come back a second day, which I really appreciated. So I didn't have to take a second day off from work. So hats off to them for that. I really appreciate the work they did, and if you're looking for the same kind of work to get done, consider giving them a call, see what they have to say. Anyway, that's going to do it for me today, and till next time, y'all just keep checking back.